Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and Miniature video. In this video, we are going to conclude our Black Powder Boot Camp tutorial videos. Basically, these are the videos that explain the core rule book. Now, there might be an advanced boot camp, or as we might call it, an AIT or something like that, advanced, I guess it would be an ABPT, which would be like an advanced black powder tutorial. Yeah, but we're going to do those on the campaign books because they have advanced rules that go into the campaigns. But in this conclusion of the black powder boot camps, this last video, I just want to kind of give you my closing thoughts, my feelings, my personal impressions about what's in this rule book. Okay, I don't know where to begin on this because I have a lot of thoughts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through the book. We already did all that during the tutorials, but I'm going to go through the book and kind of just give you some thoughts on each of the chapters. I probably could just use a table of contents. My first impression is this set of rules is top-notch. Let me see if I can quantify how much I like these rules. Okay, now you might see a reviewer might say, I give it a 7 out of 10, or I give it a 9 out of 10. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you I spent about $1,500 on Napoleonic figures. I sold a bunch of my 15mm Waterloo Army. I sold almost all of it. I have a few more figures right there that are going to go on eBay, but I had sold almost all of my 15mm figures so that I could play this game. I turned that money around that I made on selling those figures on buying more figures 25mm for this game. I had played, and that's my Napoleonics figures, I had played an American War of Independence game called Grenadier, and then I played Grenadier 2nd Edition, Advanced Grenadier. I've got all the campaign books for Grenadier. I'm going to sell my Grenadier rule book. I'm going to keep the campaign books because they have some scenarios in there that I can convert, so I'm going to keep those. And I'm keeping the figures, of course, because I was already doing 25mm Grenadier. So I can take all the figures that I played American War of Independence with Grenadier and actually use them in black powder. We actually did play a Freeman's Farm. 28mm seems to be a very nice scale. You can play this in any scale. You can play this in 6mm, 10mm, 15mm, 28mm, all the way up. They even have 54mm rules. If you want to play some giant models, you can. Having said that, I am completely 100% switching to this rule set when it comes to the black powder era models that I'm playing. World War II? Obviously not. Ancients, medievals? Obviously not. But when it comes to my black powder musketry rule sets, this is the rule set I'm going to play with. It covers more than one era, as you can see on the book cover right here. I can play French and Indian War if I want to. I could play American War of Independence, which I will. I will play Napoleonics and I will. And if I had the inkling, I could play the American Civil War. You know, you could play any types of musketry style gameplay with this one rule set. All right, when I bought this rule set, I was under the impression that it was going to be the same as Hail Caesar. I thought Hail Caesar and Black Powder were very comparable rule sets. I mean, they both had mobs, units, formed units. You had a clash melee value. You had a shooting value. You had to roll command to move your troops. You had divisions and regiments and brigades and stuff like that. They might call them a little bit different, like cohorts in Hail Caesar, but it's basically the same thing. But it's not. Hail Caesar is a lot more complicated. Believe it or not, it's so complicated when it comes to maneuvering your units, engaging in hand-to-hand. Is it clash? Is it sustained? Do you have pikes versus cavalry, or just pikes versus infantry, or are you this or are you that? In Black Powder, it's not like that. It's A man is a man is a man is a man, pretty much. Everybody has different tactics and they form different formations, and those might have a little various tweaks here and there. You might have lances or swords, but it's not like in Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar, it's like every country, and there's thousands of them, kingdoms, and throughout the ancient world, there, and then the era that they're covering is thousands of years. So, like, just the Romans have like 5 different army lists, depending on which Roman you're playing. I think Hail Caesar is a beautiful game for what it covers, but it's overly complicated, in my opinion. But it's also overly simplified in certain areas. Bringing it back to Black Powder. Black Powder is a perfect balance of complexity to simplicity. You can grasp these rules in 15 minutes or less. You can play. It's like, what do they say about chess? Chess is easy to learn, but hard to master. And that's Black Powder. It's easy to learn. You can learn it in 15 minutes or less. It's not a complicated game. But there's a lot of nuances, a lot of tactics. There's some strategy involved. It takes the command out of the player's hands. I love games like that, where you have a player, and you're at a table, like Command Decision. I'm just going to use that as an example. You can look down on the table. You can see where all the troops are, friend and foe, and you can make a decision to move this unit to over here, and it moves a set number of inches, 35 inches. You move him, guaranteed. You can calculate the road and the hills and the trees. You know where you're going to be. And then when you get there, you know the odds of you shooting. You know, I know I'm going to need this to hit. I know I'm going to need this to wound him or whatever. And it seems like it's very finite, like you know exactly everything on the battlefield. I personally don't like that. I personally like games that have a little bit of a mystery to them, or a little, what do they call it? Fog of war, where I'm the commander over here, what can I see? And then even though I can only see, you don't get like a top-down view, even though you do as a player. You could go, but your generals that are miniatures on the table, they have to roll. Every time you want to do something, you have to roll to see if they do it. It's not a set like everybody gets to move 12 inches, period. Like Napoleon's battles. If you're in command, you move. If you're not in command, you don't move. Where in this game, if you're out of command, you still might move. And if you're in command, you might not move. So it's like you don't really know. I love that. I love that. Shooting, simple. Throw dice, looking for a target number. You hit him. He throws dice to resist the damage. It kind of reminds me a little bit of old Warhammer 40K. Where you got 4s or better to hit, and they've got their armor gives them a 4 or better armor save or something like that. It's very similar to that, but they reword it into saying that it's not really casualties, it's hits on the models. It's like men are dying, but the unit is still fighting on, so you resist morale. It's just semantics. That's all it is. And instead of pulling figures off like you would in Warhammer Fantasy Battles or Warhammer 40K or whatever, you put hits on units. You don't take figures off. You add hits to the unit. That's a lot like Napoleon's battles. Now, in Napoleon's battles, you've got 4 figures mounted on a base, just like Black Powder. But Black Powder doesn't. That's not necessary. Some figure manufacturers provide bases that are 6 figures a base. Or like my Hessians for my American War of Independence in Grenadier, they were considered larger bases, and you were supposed to mount them 6 per base. I did. So those bases are not exactly the right size, but this doesn't concern itself with the size of the base. A unit is a unit is a unit. So that allows for a mix and match of base sizes and unit compositions. I might have 16 figures in my unit. You might have 20 figures in your unit. It doesn't matter. It's unit versus unit. They just call units tiny, small, medium, and large. Because I'm an anal player, or I'm very I don't know, anal might be the word for it. I'm very meticulous when it comes to unit sizes. If they say a unit is medium, I'm going to pick a medium number of figures and say all my medium units are going to be that size. But you don't have to. That's, like I've seen players will take the bases that are required and they'll put a random number of figures on the base. And then the bases occupy a certain number of inches on a table. But you could have like one figure per base if you wanted, and it would be the right size table area. Because it doesn't matter how many figures you have. It doesn't matter about that. It really kind of matters how big the unit is. A lot like Hail Caesar. Okay, so the point system seems to work. I'm okay with it. I don't plan to use it. I plan to play scenarios. What are some other things? The scenarios in the core book are better written, and there's a lot more of them than you get in a campaign book, which I think is backwards. I think this should have 1 or 2 scenarios in it, just to give you an idea of what the scenarios look like, and then jam-pack scenarios into the campaign books. I mean, that's why you buy a campaign book. Yeah, I understand you want to read history and you want to find out what the campaigns are all about, but I personally, because I'm a scenario player and not a point player, I guess that's probably partially my hang-up. The games that they show, they don't say what the scenario rules are. They say how they played it in their studio. And so, like, there's one, Freeman's Farm. Fighting Retreat at El Perez. I think that's Corunna Bay. I think that's a British retreat. I'll have to look into that one, because that would be a good one to play with my Napoleonics. The Battle of San Miguel, Crimea River. Cry me a river. Hangman's Creek. I think that's Civil War. Then you got action at the Tumbi. That's Zululand. That's perfect. That's Zulus. Zulu. Okay, and then you got the Battle of El Jeb. That looks kind of Indian, maybe? I don't know what that is. Muslims. Islam. Egypt. Okay, cool. I'm not doing that. That's not my era. Yeah, okay. So, beautiful pictures. The rules are clearly defined. Super easy. As you can attest by watching the tutorial videos, the charts are easily explained. It's actually a great set of rules. Okay, so now, let me back up and say this. Remember what I just said? I spent $1,500 on Napoleonic figures for Quatre Bras. Quatre Bras is probably one of the bigger battles that you want to play with this set of rules. If you're playing Napoleon's battles, Quatre Bras would be considered a tiny battle, because Napoleon's battles, you're able to play the entire Battle of Waterloo, from Hougoumont all the way to Plancenot, with the Allies all across the center, the French, all corps, the Prussians coming in from the end, which is a whole army, and then the British. You can do that with Napoleon's battles because it's geared for a 5x8, 5x9 ping pong table, but you're playing with 15mm miniatures. You could do that with black powder, but it might take a lot longer. Maybe not. It might be faster, actually. I mean, I'm not sure. But there would be a ton of commanders, and they don't give you, well, no, those are brigades and not battalions. So, like, a brigade of figures, 15mm, because they're mounted as brigades in Napoleon's battles. So you're looking at a brigade of figures is only a couple of inches in square, where that's one base of figures in black powder, and 6 bases would be a battalion, and then like 6 battalions would be that brigade. So you're looking at an area of 18 inches would equate to 2 inches in Napoleon's battles. So if you could only imagine, that'd be like 9 times the size. So if you had a table that was 9 times the size of a 5x9, that's a 40-foot wide table to play black powder Waterloo. So you're not going to play Waterloo with this set. You might play Quatre Bras, a small battle. You might play Hougoumont, a portion of Waterloo, La Haye Sainte, or something like that. You're not going to play the entire front unless you just have this massive table. And that, you know how many miniatures that would be? That would be 9 times as many miniatures. Actually, it'd be a lot more than that. Okay, so let me think about that. 24 miniatures, 15 millimeter for a brigade would equal to, it'd be 6 times that. So you'd have 6 times the miniatures for a Waterloo battle. Oh my gosh, that would be super expensive. Okay, it's already super expensive just to do Quatre Bras. Now remember, I am doing both French and Allies, and it costs me approximately $1,500 to do the entire thing from scratch. Okay, from zero to hero, $1,500. So if that's something that scares you because of the only build one army, then you're looking at like $750. That's a lot of money. Okay, I would have to agree, that's a lot of money. But now think of it this way. Each model that I'm buying is probably a little bit less than $1. You can buy like a whole box of hat 28 millimeter. You can get 40 models for like $20. So you're looking at, hat will actually get you 50 cents a model, $1 a model. So I'm looking at about 700 models per side, right? And that's probably an exaggeration. There's probably a lot less than that. It's probably about $600 per side. I probably calculated a lot of the money that I've spent on terrain and hills and battle mat and stuff like that. So yeah, tune that down to about $1,200 for my army. If that scares you, then don't do it. You know, if you're not dedicated into the hobby, don't do it. I mean, don't force yourself. And if you love it and you want to do it, but you just don't have the money, but you still want to do it, then just do one unit at a time. You could $25 will get you a British regiment. You know, do that. Remember, it's about $1 a figure, and you get 24 figures in a box. Get that. Paint them up, put them together, and then you'll be excited to do another box. If you do a box a month, you know, at the end of the month you got 12 units. I mean, at the end of the year you got 12 units, and that's pretty much 2 brigades. That's a division. So you would be able to play. You know, I don't know how many points that would be. That's another thing. You can play a point game against your friends. Maybe they're playing British. Pick up some French. You can't lose with picking French because French fight everyone. If you do Prussians or Russians or Austrians or British, you could even do some wild countries. You could do Brunswick or the Egyptians or, you know, Baden or Württemberg or Saxons, or, you know, you could do all kinds of different armies. And I'm just talking about Napoleonics. Maybe you like the Civil War. You know, maybe you like American War of Independence or something like that. So a bunch of Indians. You know, so there's a lot of variety. I give it 2 thumbs up. I'm willing to spend a lot of money on this game because I have a lot of faith in this game. When we played it, everyone had a really good time. The rules are super easy but hard to master. They're not like Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar felt, we played a couple of games of that, but it felt like it was dragging. But then again, that was because we weren't familiar with the rules either. So, but now that we're a little bit more familiar with the rules, the games might go a lot faster. So I don't know. But yeah, I got rid of all my 15s to go with 28s for this game. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out and checking out the closing thoughts on the boot camp tutorial. Look for my advanced tutorials coming out for the campaign books that I have. I've got the American War of Independence, and I've got the Albion Triumphant book. And I'm sure to be getting more because of the rules in the other books can be used in your current games. So I probably just need to go ahead and get all the books so I have all the rules. Because I'm in love. All right, guys. Catch you next time.